And we're back after a little bit of a break. And Gary and I were having a conversation recently on the topic of friendships. And something that I often wondered to myself, and I wonder if this is something that has come across your mind, Gary, is how different friendships are as we are now in our 30s, and I'm pretty sure 40s as well, as it was when we were in our teens and 20s.
It's super different.
And that's something that we want to kind of dive into in this episode and just try to look at the differences in our views on friendship and what they mean to us more so in our 30s and versus in the past.
And with that, let's get into it.
Let's get into another episode of Black Relativity.
Ladies and gentlemen,
where we discuss all topics, tribulations, and issues that are experienced within the Black community, from the standard to the most controversial. No filters, no boundaries, just real talk. This is Black Relativity with your hosts, Gary and Shireen Mariner.
You know, one of the things that never changed for me is my ability to make friends out of nowhere. I've always been really, just a big people person.
You're a social butterfly.
Extremely, and because it's always been easy for me to exist in all different types of environments and all different types of people, I always found it easy to make friends, or what I thought were friends, which has to deal more with the growth of my mind growing from the immature or childish mindset to now an adult.
I used to be that way when I was younger. At least that's what my parents used to tell me, that I was very sociable. I used to talk to a lot of people, and I used to make friends very easily, get people to talk that normally wouldn't open up to other people. I wouldn't say that I'm that way now, but and probably life has caused that bit of a change in me.
I would agree. Life has definitely changed everything about the way that I look at people, friendships, or if I even qualify you as a friend in the beginning. I've learned that now it's more so of an associate or somebody that I've come across and that I might be cool with, but I wouldn't give you the label friend just yet. It takes a little bit more to get to that point.
And what does it take for a person to get to that point for you?
Well, I think a friend to me is someone that I feel comfortable with having in my inner circle. Somebody who I can bring around you. I can bring around my children. I can have by the house. Somebody that I can trust. And trust is something that it's big on my Richter scale as far as things that I look at before I move forward with doing more with you.
I can agree with that. I also think that another person's current lifestyle, it also plays a factor. When you look at the fact that, we're married, we have, children and a home to take care of, dogs, whatever, work and, some when we were in school, doing school as well, having somebody as a friend who may be a constant club goer or always traveling somewhere all the time, it's a little hard to maintain an extremely close friendship with someone who has that different of a lifestyle, because you two can't readily engage with each other as often as you would like.
I think that directly speaks about like having a similar mindset. And, the difference from being in high school where I saw you every single day, because we went to the same school, we went to the same parties, we hang out and we lived in the same area.
That's the same lifestyle that I was talking about, having similar lifestyles at that time. You can hold on to friendships a lot more.
Right. And even then, you look at your work friends, which right now that's kind of what takes the place from being a kid or being a young adult or a teenager and going into being an adult. I no longer go to school. I now have a job. So the people that I see on a regular basis are the people that I work with. I spend more time with them than I do the people in my home. So you develop a relationship with them just like you would when you were in school.
But now, do you consider that an actual friendship or just a work relationship, because there are a number of people that I work with that I can say that I am very cool with and I'll talk to on a regular basis during work time, but there's only maybe one or two people that I would actually talk to outside of work and talk about non-work things with. I don't consider everybody that I'm cool with at work as someone that I would just call up and say, hey, let's go hang out and do this, you know?
See, that's something that I had to grow. And that, that kind of speaks to what we're talking about, the growth in my understanding. And this is something I even had to talk to with our son and with some of our friends that we're really close with that may not have experienced it yet. Even, your brother, where I talked about the fact that you don't realize until after you leave the job that you're in that the people that you thought were your friends are not really your friends, and they forget about you just as quickly as you left because you're not there in their face anymore.
Yep.
And having to realize that, or having to come across that in time after leaving different jobs and realizing that every one of those people that I thought I was so close with and I had such a great friendship with, whatever, just forgot about me, helped me also to change my mindset on who I actually thought was really close or what a real friend was.
And I think that when you have circumstances change like that, that's when you can really tell which relationships were actually really true friendships. I know in the previous position that I worked in for the company that I work for, when I left that position and went to a different department, a number of us that were very close while we were in the department, we all went down different lanes. A couple of people went to other jobs at a totally different company, or others went to a different department than what I was in. But we all still get together and talk to each other. We talk on the phone, or one I may talk to every day. We still establish a relationship where we can talk about stuff when we're not even working together anymore. And that's how I know that those were actually really true friendships that I developed at work.
Right. And I have a handful of those people. I would say, honestly, there may be 4 out of all the different jobs that I've worked at. There's only 4 people that have actually stuck around that I still speak to and have a good relationship with. Everyone else fell off the face of the earth. I think that also has to do with what you said. We're not club people anymore. We're not trying to go out until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We got a kid.
We're tired. Right. We're tired. At 9-10 o'clock, I'm ready to fall out of sleep. I'm not. And that's when, the club goers are getting ready to go out to go to the club. And I'm about to fall out of sleep.
I even had a conversation with a friend of mine, someone I can actually call a friend. And I was saying, this is part of the reason why I don't go to clubs, because you have all of these immature mindsets that either want to fight or want to do a bunch of craziness at the club, or you don't have the same responsibilities that I do. So,
but I think it's also because it's a different generation at the club now than it was when we were going. I mean, our generation, we're in the real adulting life right now. Mm-hmm. So, you have a different generation. So you have to expect that, there's going to be some differences there. And also think about whether or not what they were doing is what we were doing when we were that age, before we basically grew up.
Right, because once we got dogs and a kid or kids, then it was like, we don't have the time or the capability for any of this. And even if we do, we've got to arrange it. We've got to, figure out who's watching the dogs, who's going to watch the 4-year-old, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, and how we know when we get back in the morning, the wee hours of the morning, and we're still passed out, but we got a 4-year-old who is going to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. How are we going to deal when we only got 2, maybe 3 hours of sleep? We can't do that.
And then that's why it's hard to maintain friendships that where the other person may be more of a type to go out to clubs or parties and things like that on a more regular basis. It's hard. But even on the flip side of that, I also look at established relationships, established friendships that we may have where even though you may not be in touch with each other because you have different lives, you have different things going on, you still have that friendship. And I think that's something that would be good to talk about. the friendships where you don't necessarily have to be speaking to each other every day, but when you do get in contact, there is really no love lost.
I agree. Those are the things that I just incredibly value now as a father, as a husband, as an adult who has all of these responsibilities. If I can still talk to you out of nowhere and we can pick up like no time is lost, your value is ridiculous to me at this point. And it's so hard to create those or have those relationships now.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people do get caught up in what they have going on in their lives. It can also tend to be a negative to a certain degree if, excuse me, you're trying to reach out to a friend that you may not speak to on a regular basis, but you find that you're the only one reaching out to that friend, and that friend may not be reaching back out to you, whether they have a lot going on, you may not be crossing their mind, or something to that effect, and how that plays a factor in the future of that friendship.
I totally agree. That's one of my biggest things right now, whether it's a friend or someone that I would consider family, because then there's the next step for me. Some people who have really just only been a friend have moved up in my mind to being a family member, and I consider them a part of our family. The fact that we can just, or that you can just be that essential is just incredible to me. I don't know how to explain it or how to properly help you, as far as, whoever is listening to this, to understand the value of that as an adult, to know that I can bring you around my family at any time. Months can go by and I can still talk to you, and you still look at me and I have the same value in your life that you have in mine.
And that's what ends up bringing the number of friends down a bit, from having, 10, 15 people to maybe just having a set 1, 2, or 3, and just keeping those close.
Exactly.
One of the things that I always look at, and it's something that my mother would talk with me about as well, I look at the difference in having friends when you're someone that's married and having friends that are single. And I have found that I don't hear too much from my single friends, hardly at all. And my mother would try to explain to me that, it's because I'm married, I have a child, they don't have those responsibilities, so they are kind of free to kind of do whatever. And they probably know that if they try to get me to do it, I have to, situate the child, or, maybe talk to my husband about it, or I have to go through hoops to try to go where they may want me to go, when they can just get up and go and do whatever. So I do see that my friends are starting to transition from having those single friends to having more friends that are married and have those, once again, similar lifestyles.
I totally agree. It's so hard to keep a friendship going with someone who isn't in the same situation as you. Kind of like if your life continues to grow and get better, but someone stays stagnant, or their mindset doesn't grow and change and adapt. You just separate organically, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And that kind of goes into understanding how different people are just in your life for a season, and you have to understand that that's just what it is.
Yeah. And I don't particularly like that. I don't like the whole, people being in your life for a season, because I look at people that I develop relationships with as something long term, meaning forever. And, I've grown to accept the fact that there are people in your lives for a season, and that they serve a particular purpose in your life. And you just have to kind of move on from that.
I think one of the things that helps us to identify those people is their mindset. One of the things that I found beautiful about you is your open mind, and the fact that we could converse or have conversations about anything underneath the sun. And with those that I really get into or that I have a good long-term friendship with, I can do the same thing. We either enjoy the same things, or at least we can converse about any topic and come to a point in the conversation where even if we agree to disagree, there's still love.
Yeah. But I will say that when you're kind of looking at we talk about friendships and friends having similar lifestyles and similar likes and things like that. What I like about the opposite, meaning friends that are doing different things, is that you get to learn about different lifestyles. You get to learn about different ways that people do things and different things that they're involved in that you may never have thought of. And I like those things because it opens yourself up to something new. Even if you don't have time to do it, or, it's just not something that you could fit into your lifestyle on a regular basis. I think having those types of friendships as well, while harder to maintain, it does open you up to different opportunities, different possibilities in your life.
I totally agree. That's the reason why, some of the friends that I have, they may be a little bit older than me. They may have a completely different career path, or they may be interested, like you said, interested in something completely different than I would. But coming together, it gives us so much to talk about, and it makes the conversation and the friendship so much more valuable and entertaining, which helps to continue or grow it as the years pass.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So, but I do want to go back to kind of the difference or the positives and negatives that we've kind of come across when dealing with, or the change in mindset when it comes to friends. At this point, I can say that in the beginning, I loved having a large circle of friends. I loved having a lot of people around me that I can, go back and forth with and do different things with. And I guess, when I was younger and I had all of the free time in the world to do that, it was beneficial to me to have a large circle. But what I found in that was a lot of them weren't actually genuine.
Yeah.
A lot of those people, really all I knew was, as we were talking about in the previous episode, the receptionist.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that that's how I was. I never liked a large circle of friends. That's never been the case for me, even all the way down to elementary school. I've always liked to just have one or two close people that I established a relationship with. I'm still cool with, the person that I established a friendship with back in elementary school. Even someone that I met after junior high school, still friends with this person after 24, 25 years. I love those types of friendships. And the groups, when I've had groups of people that I was cool with, that I may have hung out with, I don't really talk to them now. I don't really engage. They don't engage with me. It just never worked out.
Now, I found out that essentially, over time, I found that to be the reality, or what I needed to learn personally. With having all those different friends, a lot of them weren't real. They weren't really there for me. And at the same time, I think, now more lately, I found out that because I'm such a weirdo, or I guess I'm just not the average mindset kind of a person, I think differently. I like different things, and I like a whole spectrum of things. And because I couldn't fit into a particular bubble, my circle of friends was wide, because I was trying to fit in with all of those people who liked the different things, and there wasn't a group of people who just liked what I liked. I was always the oddball.
Well, what was it that you liked that you couldn't find even that one person?
It's kind of like, I'm the type of person who may turn on some hard rock and listen to that, and I think it's really cool, and I get into the words and the message that's pushed across in the songs that they make. But I don't have a lot of black people or a lot of black friends who listen to that stuff, like Nirvana or whatever the case may be. And because I couldn't find people who were interested in those things or liked what I liked, I had to find people who did, so I can feel comfortable with them. But then when I did, they also did not like or did not understand either, my traditions or my upbringing, or,
and nobody embraced the differences basically at that time.
And it wasn't until I got a lot older and I started to either not care, and I was just comfortable in my own skin, which was a problem. When I was younger, I had a real problem being comfortable with just being me. And so a lot of times I put on different faces or different hats to feel comfortable in whatever the bubble was in. And then ended up making friends in that bubble, but it wasn't truly genuine because they didn't know the true me, and I didn't know the true them because they weren't giving me their all either. And so as an adult now, being comfortable in my own skin, which is one of the things that comes with adulting and growing up and becoming mature.
And also not caring. As you get older, you end up not caring more about what other people think, and you become a little bit more comfortable in just doing you.
Right. And what that ends up doing is it also sheds or pulls out all of those people that you realize aren't really there for you. And that ultimately makes your circle a lot smaller.
I agree, because both of our circles have gotten much smaller as we have gotten older, but we're okay with that too. We're not out trying to look for a whole bunch of new friends. You know, we definitely don't mind meeting new people or engaging in new conversations. And if the friendships develop because of that, then that's great. But we're not looking for quantity.
And I think going along with what you said, not looking for quantity, but looking for quality, it takes a little bit longer for us to trust you, let you into our circle, because we have so much to risk by letting the wrong person into our circle or into our home.
Yeah, and we just don't want to, disturb our peace either.
Exactly.
We are comfortable in where we're at, and we don't need something that or someone that will come in and kind of disrupt that in a negative way.
Right. So to go along with what you said, I'm open to having new friends, but I know that I need to connect with you, and you need to have either similar values or an understanding of where I come from, and a respect, respect of me, respect of my wife, or respect of the responsibilities that I have and my time, because my time is valuable.
And that's a big one, especially when you have a lot of different responsibilities that you have to take care of. Having friends and making time for those friendships, and making that a priority. You want to make sure that you are putting your time into a quality friend.
And then at the same time, I also need you to understand that the time that I may spend away from my home, my kids, is valuable time. So if I choose to spend time with you, understand that's valuable. Just the same way I understand if you choose to spend time with me, that it's valuable to you. But if I choose not to, understand I have responsibilities that I have to take care of, and I have a child who wants that time that I would have not been able to give to him by going and spending time with you.
And that's for anybody with kids, they're anybody with a child that's choosing to spend time with you is taking away time from their family, from their child, and they're making that choice to do so, and that shows your importance in their life that they're willing to do that.
And that kind of goes into the reason why I think most married people with children look for other married people with children, because I can bring my kids by and the kids can have a play date, and while the kids are playing, we can have some time together as adults. It's beneficial. It's mutually beneficial for both parties. But the problem with that I've been coming across is there are so many married couples who just are not mature.
In what way?
I know people who still live with either a lot of disrespect from the man to the wife to the husband. There's no respect between the two, which then falls into how the kids then relate and how they talk, which is why there's a whole upset in the household, or why the kids are, just over the top, or they just don't give the energy that they need to. And so what we end up finding out by coming together with you is, do you have the same values that we put in front of our child?
I would probably have to agree to disagree with that one, just because you can find people that will have the same values as you, but everyone raises their children and runs their household differently.
Well, I'm not saying that you can't find people that you can come together with. I'm just saying that it's a 50-50 scenario. Either I'm going to find somebody that I'm cool with and that We can bring our children around, just like our friend that I just took you over to and we did the whole Halloween thing with.
No, I agree. And they run their household differently than the way that we do. What I look at is whether or not the different values that each set of parents may teach their children, if they can bring something unique and valuable to the other married couple as far as values. So they don't necessarily have to be the same.
No.
They can be different, but if they're beneficial to the other, married couple that has a child, then it could be beneficial for both parties.
I totally agree with that. And I think that the point that I was trying to make was I'm looking for situations like what you just described. And when I don't find it, I'm looking for a quick exit because this is detrimental.
Yeah.
And this is going to be negative or have a negative impact, not only on the peace that we were looking to continue by coming over to your house or coming over and meeting with you, not only for us as the parents, but the child, and that upset, which is then either going to cause me to have a conversation with my kid as we leave to tell them, no, this is not okay, don't do this, or whatever the case may be, or we're just going to be upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be in that environment. And I don't want to put my wife in that. I don't want to put my child in that. And I don't want to deal with it. Point blank, period.
Yeah. So I want us to get into the influences the influence that certain friendships have on your life individually. Because, you can kind of tell a lot in your friendships by how you start to lead your life. And I know that I have seen that, there can be situations where the personalities of your friends, that energy can kind of rub off on you. When you're around people that are very positive, very optimistic, very successful, they're very motivated to do, the things that they want to do in life, that type of energy will run off in you, and it will motivate you and give you that same type of energy to be able to do those same things. You'll become more motivated and more energetic to do what you need to do. And on the flip side, you'll also, if you have friends that may be lazy or they're not doing nothing with their life, they're
Debbie Downers.
Yeah, they're just kind of being a bum or whatever. You can kind of take on that energy as well and feel lazy and not want to do anything or whatever. So that, I think that's something that also needs to be looked at as well in your friendships. I mean, I can pretty much see when certain energies are being rubbed off on me and how I act versus if I'm not around certain energies or have certain energies in my life that I behave a lot differently.
See, I'm the same way. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I quote unquote called friend when our relationship started were Debbie Downers, really had no, future plan, didn't want to do anything, were really just stuck in this negative environment or negative circle. And it was detrimental to me. I wasn't going anywhere. There was nothing that I wanted to do with my life because I was content in that bubble. But the moment that I got out of it, and the moment that, me and you talked about different things, or my circle changed, or when I moved down here to Georgia and I got around different people, then all of a sudden it wasn't acceptable to be around those people anymore.
Well, they weren't bringing value to what it was, to where your life was at that moment. That's a big thing.
Right. And, not only for me, but now specifically as a father, I have to take into consideration, how is that then going to trickle down to my children? Or what is that going to do to my relationship? If I'm sitting here, being a bum, not really doing anything, not really caring, or always mad about life, whatever the case may be, how positive is that going to make my relationship? How am I going to sit there and talk to you and communicate to you?
I can agree with that. Even though I don't think that I take on that perspective, before I even get to the point of looking at how it will trickle down to my child or anything like that, I have a center focus on myself. If I've seen that with me and my own energy, without the influence of other energies, if I see that I'm very productive, I get things done, I'm very successful in whatever it is that I choose to do in my life, and then all of a sudden I get around certain energies and now I'm kind of laying around and I'm kind of lollygagging and just playing video games or whatever, that's not geared towards being productive. I'll start to be angry at myself. I'll get angry at myself. I'll start feeling depressed because I'm not doing what I know it is that I can do. And that's based on the energies that are around me. That's a little hard to fight and that I have to kind of get rid of in order for me to get back to the person that I know that I am.
I didn't really find out that was in me until more recently. I would say, probably in the past year or two, I really started to believe in my own capabilities, in who, the best person that was in me and all the things that I bring to the table, just like you described about yourself. I know you knew this about yourself for a while and you were trying to get me to change my mindset and realize what was in me and, get out of that kind of negative bubble that I was in. But more recently, realizing all of that, if I don't really see that or I don't get that from the people that I'm around, it's very hard for me to keep coming back around you. I tend to pull away drastically because I don't want to go back there.
And I don't do that. See, that's the thing. I don't pull back, especially if it's someone that I care about, somebody that I'm close with. Instead of me pulling back, I'm trying to motivate them to be kind of like how I am. I'm motivating them to try to get that energy of productivity, of non-laziness, or whatever it is that they may be pouring onto me with their energy.
See, it's a little bit harder for me, and I don't know if this is just my, I don't give two fucks kind of a mindset, and I'm really more so focused on me and my house. Maybe that's a little bit selfish, but at the same time, I think my mind is focused on the right thing, and I have to put me and my household first. So I don't have the time to put into you to get you to motivate to do what you can do best in your life if you're not doing it for yourself, because I had to learn how to put myself first before everyone else. And I was too focused on putting everyone else first before myself, and that's what caused me to be in the negatives that I was in.
But look at long-term friendships that you may have had for years. If you were in a situation like that with someone that you've had an extremely long friendship with, how do you tackle that? You just pull away from that person that you've been friends with for a long time?
Well, see, those that were positive from the jump, and that always had my best interest at heart, or were beneficial for me.
I'm talking about those that are not. Those that may start to
see. I don't have any examples of friends from the past who were not positive or weren't, trying to do something with their life that we don't still talk. If you were positive.
But they could have been positive, and then life happens and things may have gotten them down in the dumps, and now they're kind of negative.
I'll probably still talk to you, but probably from a distance. Mm-hmm. While I'll give you words of encouragement. I'll sit there and talk to you about maybe, you could do this or you could do that, blah, blah, blah. But the moment that I see that either you don't care about what I'm saying, you're not listening to me, you are paying attention to other people,
or being negative,
and you consistently do that, then you'll hear less and less from me.
And I can get that. I mean, either hearing less and less, or you're filtering what it is that you may talk with that person about because you don't want to get whatever that negativeness that they may give off.
Now, what ends up happening with that, which is what I've been seeing, is that you just stop reaching out to me. You either stop reaching out to me, all of a sudden you either...
Because you've pulled back?
No, because you don't have anything in common with me anymore. Either you feel jealous, you don't like my success, or you can go with the whole movie mindset, since everybody, if you listen to the previous podcast, know that I'm a big movie person. You could be like, yo, money changed you, or the jobs changed you, or you changed, you moved down there to the South and now you acting brand Nubian, or whatever the case may be.
You got people that actually say that?
Yeah.
I guess I'm in this a totally different world. That just sounds like something that I hear on TV or whatever. And I never really think people actually say that.
See, one, as you all have probably heard, I do say a lot of movie quotes, but at the same time, I'm from New York, and a lot of the stuff that you hear from movies is stuff that came from people from New York. We just talking smack. Either it came from New York, or it came from Cali, like Oakland, or it came from Chi-Town, or it came from the D. We
you saying like I'm not from New York either.
But you don't act like it, though.
Because I've been in the South for over 10 years.
Which is why you don't know none of these phrases. So
You've been in the South just as long.
No. You've been in the South longer, because you came down here right after high school. I came down 10 years ago.
I did not come after high school. Thank you.
Well, you was no.
We're not going to go in
anyway.
that. What I'm saying is you've been in the South for 10 plus years.
Yeah, but I'm too influenced by New York. I can't. You know what I'm saying? New York is my home. That's my baby. You know what I'm saying?
Back to what we're talking about.
Anyway, so like I said, you're gonna get people who are just gonna be upset with the fact that you changed. You changed up. You switched up. Now you different. Why did you change? Why did you become this person? This is not you.
What is the difference that they're seeing? What is it when? I mean, if you're friends with somebody, what is the difference that they're seeing?
Matter of fact, all right. When I went to the funeral not that long ago for my homie that passed away, and I'm there with my SUV, you know what I'm saying? I got the podcast on the back of the car, whatever the case may be. I'm dressed up like how I like to be dressed up, because I am comfortable in myself. It's the first time that you, who may have known me for 20 years, it's the first time that you've seen me comfortable in my own skin. I like how I look. I like the way that I dress. I finally have the weight that I want on my body. I feel like I look good. I had a little bit of money in my pocket, and I'm driving around in a car that I feel comfortable with, that fits my lifestyle. And everybody who sees me is like, yo, what's up with you? I'm like, what you mean, what's up with me?
Did people actually say that?
Yeah, they're like, what's up with you? Yo, you changed. Like, that's the car that you drive? Yeah. Yo, you changed. That's not you.
You changed from what? And I'm just trying to understand. I mean, I ask questions, so I'm just trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out their mindset.
I used to drive sports cars. I used to, wear baggy clothes. I used to kind of be depressed all the time. I used to, smoke weed every day. You know what I'm saying? I used to drink liquor heavy. I used to be into all of that, and I used to be a Debbie Downer. I used to be the person who was involved in all of the drama.
But they're looking at you. They're looking at you, seeing how you dress now,
and
seeing the car that you drive, seeing the confident energy that you may be putting out there. And so they're saying that you change. What do they expect after X amount of years of, and these are not people that you talk to on a regular basis.
And that's my whole point. You look at me and you expect me to stay the same like you, and I didn't. I grew the fuck up. And you mad at the fact that I did. And the fact that you mad that I didn't stay who you wanted me to be, that fit your narrative, that fit your world, is a problem. And the fact that you're reminding me that you needed me to stay there in order for you to feel comfortable means I need to leave you alone.
Well, yeah, I can agree with that. That definitely means that you need to leave the person alone, because they're where their expectation of you have exceeded what their expectation of you
right is. And so now you're trying to pull me back, and I will not be pulled back into that.
Yeah,
because that's beneath me now. And I think, going along with the whole topic of discussion that we're talking about, the growth in our understanding of the value of a friend, a true friend, someone who is there with you as you grow, someone who believes in you, someone who respects you, and someone who doesn't want to hold you back or make you stay within the, what I would call the blood-sucking position that they want you in and that they need you in order for them to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, when you realize that that's the situation, your bubble starts to get smaller, your friendship circle starts to get really, really thin.
But it becomes of greater quality.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. And there's nothing, and I don't feel that there's anything wrong with that. I love having a smaller bubble. Smaller bubble means that information that you share between each other stays within a smaller bubble. You know, you have a whole group of people that you talk to, you know, information that you may not want shared with everybody can make its way around the whole circle. I'm not really too cool with that. You know, I like to have that one or two persons that I actually can tell a secret to or whatever, if I have a secret to tell. But you know, that's a lot more comfortable to me.
I totally agree. And I think now, thanks to the growth in my mindset and my emotional stability, the belief in myself, and the just, what would you call it? It's not the acceptance of who I am, but it's like,
well, you're comfortable and you're comfortable in
becoming
yourself.
comfortable and
comfortable with yourself.
when now that I'm at that point in my life, having people that I actually can trust and know care about my well-being and my growth is so much more important to me than having some big behind circle with all of these fake people that really don't care.
It's a lot of work too when you're trying to be friends with a large group of people and you have the responsibilities that you do. It to me, it's a lot of work. I mean, people will say, you know, well, you're going to make time for what you want to make time for. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I have to put my family and my responsibilities as a priority. And I know that what I do try to do is I do try to reach out to people to check on them. If at the very least, I do try to check up on people to see how they're doing. Now, I can't really say that that's done for me, but
Precisely.
you know, I do try to do my part as much as I can, and then I go forward from there.
See, I'm the same way. I've always been the type of person who's going to reach out to you and ask you how you doing, what's up with you, how's your moms, how your pops, how your family, whatever. Everybody that I knew, I'm going to talk to you and try and have a conversation. If you don't respond, or I see that you're not doing the same with me, where I will never hear from you unless I contact you personally, there's a problem with that.
Yeah, because you're making the time, even if it's just for 2 to 3 minutes. You know, you're not asking for, you know, let's go on a trip somewhere or let's go hang out for a few hours. You're just checking up, you know, for a couple of minutes just to keep in touch.
And to go back to what you said, you put time into the things that you find important. And we're the type of people who put time into everyone that we feel is important. I always say, and I even say this to my kids, you start out with 100 with me. You're the one who takes that grade down and bring you to a failing grade and get you to the point where I no longer talk to you. I didn't do that because I'm still reaching out to you. I'm trying to check up on you. But if you show me...
You're not going to talk to the kids if they get to 100? I mean, if they get to 0?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you still talk to family because it's family. But, you know, when it comes down to friends...
I'm joking.
She always tries to rib me. Anyway.
No, that's just what you said.
But when it comes down to friends, if you don't reciprocate, if you don't show me that I actually care in your life, that's exactly what you just did. And it's your problem that you showcase that to me, not mine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I think, you know, that's kind of where this led in my mind, or you know, the new understanding that has been given to me.
And we definitely want to know what you guys feel your impressions are of friendship now at your particular age. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are different age ranges that listen to our podcast. So it'll be kind of good to kind of get an understanding of what each generation or just each decade age, how they view friendships and how they go about their friendships now.
Yeah, you got people who are single, you got people who just entered into a relationship, you got people who got kids, you got people who got kids who moved out the house, and now your whole situation is different.
Exactly.
You don't have the same responsibility, so it would definitely be great to hear from you all. But on that note,
we'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And check out our website at blackrelativity.com for additional info and discussions. Also, if you know someone that will like this content, take a screenshot and share it on social media. From the standard to the most controversial topic, we got you covered. This is Black Relativity.